Welcome to the latest episode of United Front Podcast. I'm your host, Greg McManus. I just want to give a massive thanks to everyone who's downloading and subscribing to the podcast on YouTube and every other platform, including iTunes, Spotify, etc. It's really cool. I really enjoy doing these, and I really enjoy speaking with everyday people who have awesome stories to tell. So thanks for checking it out and downloading it, streaming it, all those things. I really appreciate it. On today's episode, we have Shaye Fox from DMWC Films. So I met Shaye through a friend of mine, Glenn, and Shaye's been filming punk gigs for quite a while now. And he's actually coming out with a new documentary soon called Unearthing the Underground. So we get to talk a fair bit about that and just how he got into video and film in general. So I believe by the time this comes out, he will be dropping a trailer. So get in, check it out. We also talk about his love of wrestling, skateboarding, and just talk about what it was like for him growing up. So, ladies and gents, I give to you Shaye Fox.
Yeah, all right, awesome.
Shaye, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on here. This is really cool.
Yeah. So, tell us a bit about yourself, dude.
So my name's Shaye Fox. I'm 22 years old, and as a hobby, I guess I film gigs for people, and I want to be a filmmaker, I guess, in the near future. But yeah, mostly I film like gigs for bands. Like, for example, I filmed one of your shows recently, the Punk's Not Dead, It's Frozen gig.
Yeah. So with the film stuff, have you got a name you go under, or?
Yeah, it's DMWC Films.
Okay,
DMWC stands for Drunk Monkeys with Chainsaws.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. I thought of that. I thought of that name when I was like in year 6, and I couldn't think of anything better. So that's
And it's just stuck.
Yeah, so I've used the abbreviated version just because, just in case, someone's like, oh, I need something to film. Oh, Drunk Monkeys with Chainsaws. No.
Yeah. And you're like, it's a pretty, it's out there. It's a good name, man, because no one else knows anything about Drunk Monkeys with Chainsaws, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're not going to Google that, So, all right.
The funny thing is, I got that off a Simpsons comic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was reading a Simpsons comic, and it had like a drunk monkey with the chainsaw, and I was like, wow, that's super awesome. And yeah, that's how I got my name for my film thing, I guess.
Yeah, right. Okay. So we'll go back and just start. So how did you get into filming, or where's the drive for cinema, and where does this all start for you?
So it all pretty much started when I was if we want to go really, really back. Okay, so when I was a kid, me and my sister and my next door neighbours, we would take my mum's my old video camera, and we would just make short movies. Like, we ripped off Harry Potter, for example, and I'm really not looking forward to ever watching those again. We made like little short films and stuff, and then after that died down, like, a couple of years went by, like I went past primary school, and then one of my friends, Kyle, wanted to try out the drama part of school, and I thought, well, I'll hang out with my best mate at the time, and that kind of, I guess, opened my eyes to like production and acting and stuff, and I did drama thing for a couple of years, and then I started in the side at high school just making short films with my friends, like they were probably good at the time, but looking now I can't what they're probably objectively worse than I think. Like, I can't watch my old short films, even though they're probably okay at best.
Yeah, okay. So you've got all that stuff archived? Like, you've kept it?
Yeah, I've kept most of it. Some of my, like, short films are on YouTube still, so...
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you can plug your channel here if you like, so we can go check out those little gems.
Yeah. like, and it's funny because like I was super happy of them now, but at the time, like, for example, I made I made 2 short films in high school. One was called Trapped in the Movies, and the other one was called 7 Days to Kill. And looking back at them now, I can't watch them. I've tried my hardest, but I can't.
Just pick them apart. Yeah.
Yeah, like, for example, the Trapped in the Movies idea was based on the idea that 2 friends are at a house watching a movie, and the DVD player messes up, and they get sucked in the DVD player, and there's like a MacGuffin doodad that they have to complete to get out of the DVD player. So they have to go through this door that'll send them to, like, movies. So, for example, they get transported into Star Wars or to Pulp Fiction or whatever. Problem is, we're in year 9 and we don't have a budget. So imagine trying to make Pulp Fiction at the back of someone's house. It's and thinking about it now, it's funny. I was like kicking myself because I was like, instead of parodying like the exact movie, you could have just parodied the type of movie. You could have parodied sci-fi movies in general. Instead of Star Wars or 80s action films, instead of having my best friend just pretend to have a mental breakdown as Rambo.
That is cool though. Yeah. So you were 9 at this point doing this sort of
stuff? Year 9. I was in year 9, so, in high school.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the other idea, 7 Days to Kill, was me basically ripping off The Crow. I'd watched that movie, I'd read the comics, and I was like, wow, this is really good. A bit dated 90s, but still really awesome. So the idea was like, this guy's a driver for the mafia. He's like got a van filled with guns, drugs, and other nasty business, and it gets stolen off him. So the big bad has him get killed. And so he goes to limbo, where instead of instantly just going down or up, he's got to go to a court case, and
a purgatory court case.
Yeah, so and it's just like you have this judge character, it's like, do you deserve to go da-da-da? It's just like, and he ends up getting sentenced to 1,000 years of community service, which means he has to go back and basically kill bad guys.
Yeah, okay. Just redo The Crow sort of from there. Yeah. I can remember when that was new though, dude, which is pretty scary. So I can remember that came out. I'm just like, fuck, this is epic. Yeah, because the soundtrack and stuff, it was really awesome. I really like The Crow a lot.
Granted, I can look at my old movie stuff and see the cool parts of it, but a lot of besides a few specific cool parts, I can't look at it. Although I'll tell you something funny actually. This was in year 12, I did 7 Days to Kill, and I was a bit crazy back then. I mean, I'm still a bit nuts now, but the craziness has decreased, I guess. And I was hanging out with all my friends, and we used to hang out in a place called Psycho Valley because we got kicked out of Psycho Alley because basically in my high school, St. Clair High, there was an alleyway area between the library and the science area, and me and all my friends used to hang out there, and the teachers nicknamed it Psycho Alley. And then when we got kicked out of that area for being year 12s and still hanging out in that area, we moved to this place called, we just named it Psycho Valley, even though it wasn't the same, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
And when I was filming a scene where he's awakened he's come back from the dead, I had sprained my ankle really badly.
Oh, okay.
So if you can imagine, there was 2 seating platforms and just a big wooden square that people could, sit down, talk, study and all that.
Yep.
and we also had a picnic table there, and so someone dared me to run off the table, jump onto one of the square things.
Okay, yeah.
So I ran, landed it, and just badly sprained my ankle. And this was at the start of the day, and I didn't want to get in trouble with my parents just because, I didn't want to, be a bit of a dickhead in front of them, even though I was all day.
Just trying to walk it off.
Yeah, so basically, I went to school the whole day with my ankle the size of a melon. And there's a scene where I'm from the short film where I'm standing up and you can see me wince in pain, and one of my friends who was filming it after said, "Dude, that was some great acting." And I was like, "No, it wasn't acting."
So you don't mind acting yourself? It's not just behind the camera?
Yeah, I don't mind acting. When I did it in high school, I really enjoyed it. But yeah, the most of the time I like to be behind the scenes stuff, just because I don't think I'm that great of an actor. I can do crazy very well, and I can do evil very well. That's it. I can do crazy or evil.
Just put it out there. Anyone listening who's up for a crazy,
up for a mediocre actor, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. So, what was St. Clair High like?
St. Clair High was
growing up.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Had a big friend. So the way I thought of it then was we were there was the cool kids and we were the outsiders, but really there wasn't, thinking about it now, there was no cool kids or there was no outsiders. There was just two big groups of people that, sometimes intermingled and stuff. So I had a group of friends who I hanged out with then, and that was the best part, just the hanging out with your friends all the time. And
you still talk to them now, I suppose?
Yeah, we've kind of drifted apart. I only really talk to two people from my group consistently, I guess. One of them's just sending memes to each other, and
that's the best way to keep in contact is a good meme, I reckon. Good solid meme.
And the other one is my friend Bilal, and we hang out constantly just because we both play D&D together. So, yeah.
Cool. That's awesome, man. All right, so moving forward now, you got out of high school and stuff. Yeah, what else do you do with your time outside of filming? Because I know that's a fair chunk of time.
That's the majority of the thing I do. I'm unemployed right now, so what I do most of my time is looking for jobs or editing footage.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a way to do it.
Yeah.
Just chase what you want to do,
Yeah. I mean, granted, I do want to do this as a job, but it's kind of like a thing where for every one of me, there's 50 of me,
Yeah, okay.
And I do still want to do it, but I would seriously be happy with just doing this as a weekend job, just working the week and then videoing bands and stuff, because I would be happy to do that. In fact, that's what I was doing when I had a job, I was filming stuff occasionally and working until recently. That's what I was doing.
Okay, so we spoke a little bit before we came on, but just when you really started, when you got a camera. So tell us how you first got a camera and what started filming.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I just had a random thought after doing some plays in high school. Maybe I should do because YouTube. I'm only 22 years old, so I grew up with YouTube and stuff. So I thought, if these idiots can do it, I can do it. So I saved up my money for a camera, and I did short films, as I mentioned previously, and and then after doing that for a bit, I started filming stuff for people.
So you just put it out there, really? And said, hey, I can film some stuff for you.
Yeah, basically, yeah. My next door neighbor is a secretary of a Vietnam veterans group, and I started filming Vietnam Veterans Day for them, and I started editing the footage for them, and that's how I got most of my current equipment, is because they paid for half of it.
Yeah, cool. Sponsored you.
Yeah, and I did that for a couple of years and got to do some really cool stuff. I got to film a helicopter landing, which was a lot of a lot of fun.
That would have been all right.
Although I remember, like, the helicopter was landing in the car park and, you know, there's, like, cumulative dust and stuff. So I'm just have a GoPro on the ground, which got the best footage. I've got my newer camera on one side shooting, like, it coming down, and I've got my old rinky-dink camera just holding it, trying to get as close as possible, but there's a gust of wind, so the footage is like, because I'm, like, trying to get dirt and rocks out of my eyes and stuff.
Yeah, okay. So, like the Vietnam vets, it's an interesting start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my best friend, his dad does tribute shows. Like, for a long time, he did U2. Like, he's even appeared on Sunrise as Bono and stuff like that.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, and I've seen a couple of his shows and went to it with him. And I don't know if he asked me or if I asked him, but yeah, I ended up filming a lot of his shows. Well, not a lot of his shows, but I filmed maybe 5 of his shows. And at that point, he was doing Rod Stewart and Elton John. He was doing it with another guy, and then I shot the footage, and then he used it for marketing materials. So some of the pictures and some of the video I've taken of him, he used in, like, marketing material, which is really cool.
Yeah, man.
And and then he mentioned my name to a couple of other people, so I did a Bee Gees show, which was interesting.
Yeah, okay.
And after, it's funny actually, because I thought, the Bee Gees staying alive, but actually after filming it, I gained a little respect for the Bee Gees, I guess.
They've wrote a lot of songs, man. There's a lot of songs that get around that they wrote. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, but the Bee Gees. So, okay, so now you're. I actually met you through, like, doing some punk stuff. So, how'd you get into punk? And
so at the start of this year, I wanted to film more because for the past 2 years, I had been studying in TAFE to get a diploma in screen and media, just because I thought that would be a way to get in to get away. And in fact, that's how a lot of people got a job at, like, Fox Sports, for example, because they live right next door. Yep. In fact, oh Jesus, one of my biggest regrets is that, like, we went all around Fox Sports and saw all the cool stuff, and they're
that's part of the course of the
to check out Fox Sports, and this guy gave out his email and said, send us your cover letter, send us your resume, maybe you'll get an interview. So I did that, except I spelt the guy's name wrong by one letter. And I only realised that a week after he was giving interviews. So, yeah. But anyway, I had a lot of fun doing the TAFE stuff. Like, I got to do some really cool stuff. Like, I got to make a documentary about tribute bands as a major assignment. And I got to do an ad about our kids' lobotomy centre, just because we were all asked to so there was six ads we were going to make, and we all had to pitch one idea. So I had the idea of, after just going on a Wikipedia wormhole, I found out that JFK's sister got lobotomized when she was a kid. Just because she wasn't, I guess, conforming to the family values at the time.
Right, okay.
And so I thought, wouldn't that be funny if someone could offer that service to, like, really bad parents? So, yeah. I can even show it to you after if you want.
Check it out, yeah.
But, yeah, besides that cool stuff, I wasn't really filming much. Like, my camera gear was, like, in the side of my room. So I decided that I would post on a Facebook page, the Aussie Punk Collective, which is pretty cool. They show a lot of gigs, and there's a lot of cool people in there. And I basically posted on there, like, hey, I'm a videographer, I'm just starting out, and I'm happy to. I've got heaps of spare time, and I'll film your gigs for free if you want.
Yeah.
And that's how I started filming. Well, I didn't just post it in the punk group. I posted it everywhere. And that's how I met a really cool punk band called Zenith 17, which I've filmed like 5 times. Seriously, shout out to them. They're awesome. And I got in contact with a bunch of people, and there was this guy nicknamed Patch who said, I'm having a show in a alleyway in Marrickville, and he said, like, I'd be happy to have you film this and also a straight A gig at the Valve Bar. So I filmed both events, cut them together, and he really dug it, and I met some really cool people.
Yeah, cool.
There. And
so what bands played that alley show you did? Remember?
Jeez.
They're all blended together.
Rooted, Durry, Grim, Suppressants. Jeez. I'm trying to think. The guy Patch's band, Improvised Explosive Device, Ruckus.
Ruckus, yeah.
Yeah, they're one of my favorite bands to film, just because the crowd goes like nuts, and it's an awesome like atmosphere just to be there, and also it's got some great footage because you can go out from his extreme close up of a guitarist doing a guitar solo, and then you can like whip pan to people like stage diving and stuff that. And because of that, one of the bands I had met on the Australian Day gig was a Gerringong band called Slosh Pit, who I really enjoyed filming them, and the singer Lockie was like a really cool dude, and I thought, hey, if I get an opportunity, I'll try and film them again. So a couple of months passed, and I noticed that there was a gig called the Legion of the Doomed Festival that was happening at the Valve Bar, and Slosh Pit was playing. So I asked them, hey, would you want me to film you guys there? And they said, yeah, sure. So I got there super early, and I met a guy named Luke, and he's a really cool dude as well. And basically, I filmed this gig for him, and then suddenly the ball kept rolling. It's actually funny mentioning Slosh Pit because one of them hurt their arms skateboarding, so they didn't end up going. So,
okay.
But I'm happy that I did still go, just because I got to film a lot of awesome bands that night, and I got to meet some awesome people. And then, Luke said, hey, are you free to film this show called Denim Fest, Denim Fest 3? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then he said, how about film like this thing? And it's like, yeah, sure. And then suddenly I'm filming every
weekend, pretty much full after that.
Not every weekend, but like every once in a while and stuff. And it's gone to the point where like I was legitimately going to film a gig every like 2 gigs a week, which was awesome. Right. Yeah, and the only I love doing that. The only problem that I have with that is that just because like a huge backlog happens, and I've got to sift through it, just because like bands want their footage, and also I want to be able to edit new stuff, and I want to
it's all fresh and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and also like getting burnt out like can happen, and then nothing's getting edited, and bands are asking me, hey, where's the footage? And I'm like, oh god,
it's just too much.
Yeah. And another cool thing happened was one of my friends from I used to work in this government thing called the Green Army, which was like this government youth incentive to have people like clear out weeds and plant trees and stuff. And I met this guy named Doug, who's a really cool dude, who we became really good friends because he was into the same music as I was, like, heavy metal, punk and stuff.
That's what happens, man.
Yeah. And he was in a band called Crackhead. And his band was going to play a gig at the Crowbar, and they got kicked out because their lyrics, they're one of those bands where like they're comically offensive, I guess, and the Crowbar didn't want, I guess, bad press, I guess, of using them. So
bit edgy sort of stuff.
Yeah, they're very edgy. Granted, I like the band. They sound pretty good, but I understand why the Crowbar.
it's a bit average.
I understand both sides of the thing, and so after years of not talking to the guy, just because didn't really have anything interesting to talk to him about.
Yeah.
I hit him up and I was like, hey, I heard that, you guys are doing a house gig now to replace the gig you got kicked off at. Do you want it filmed? And he's like, yeah, sure. And suddenly, I became friends with him.
Yeah.
Well, we were always friends, but we started talking a lot more, and then he's in like a million bands, so I'm filming all of his bands, and I'm meeting new people and stuff. But I ended up filming that house gig that was called Fuck the Crowbar.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I really hope I'm not on a list or whatever, because I wanted to film in the Crowbar. Well, I want to film anywhere. Like there's a list of, like, the only place that I really want to film is Frankie's, like, because I've been there heaps of times with my friends and stuff, and I've always thought, this would be an awesome place to film something or film something around. So that's like the one definitive place I want to film. And
Okay, that's cool. So you've also got a documentary you're working on at the moment.
Yes.
So, which I'm lucky I can say I've been a part of now. So, tell us a bit about that.
So the documentary is called Unearthing the Underground right now. I don't know. It's
a working title.
It's a working title. I reckon it sounds good, but then there's the part of my brain that's like, isn't that a bit pretentious? And it's just like, yeah. But, so the idea for this documentary came after I filmed a gig, and I was on the night train home, and I was on YouTube watching Penelope Spears' documentary, The Decline of Western Civilization, which the director of that did Wayne's World, for example, and she worked on like some movies and stuff that are awesome. Like Wayne's World's like one of my favorite movies. And before she got really big, she did this documentary series called The Decline of Western Civilization.
Yep.
And a lot of the first one, she was interviewing a lot of really influential punk bands when they weren't influential. They had like the Germs, X, Black Flag before what's his name, Henry Rollins. Before Henry Rollins was in there and stuff.
Wow,
and
okay.
So I kind of got that idea of like, hey, maybe I should rip it off and do my own version, of that. And it's funny because I wouldn't say I'm winging it, but like it's kind of like that, because I had suggested the idea to a couple of people, and one of them's like, well, I'm free next Tuesday, and suddenly like I'm just rushing to get the questions, to at least get the questions. So I've interviewed heaps of people at gigs or over the internet and stuff, and it's been interesting doing it. And it's funny because like I know where I want to do it, but I don't know how to do it. Like, when you watch a documentary, there's at least a storyline or something that connects the interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
I still don't know what that is.
Okay. See, that might even just come on its own, man. Like, over time, it could be just you taking this journey, filming all this shit. It could be anything. Yeah. Really.
So I am, and despite what I said earlier, I am winging this, but I'm only now starting to plan, despite the fact that, I've been doing it since June this year. So
okay.
It's now August. Sorry if this time dates it, but like it's really interesting doing the process of this, because people are starting to get excited about it, and people are like, giving me suggestions and stuff like, oh man, you should totally have like this huge gig, get all the bands that you've interviewed, have this like awesome premiere and stuff, maybe sell it on DVDs and stuff. And I'm like, let's make sure it's good first.
Take it back a couple of steps.
Like I have some ideas of how I want to do it, but as I said to you earlier, originally this was going to be for Tropfest.
Yeah.
Originally this was going to be just Sydney, and it was going to be, because the time limit for Tropfest films is 7 minutes long. Originally this was going to be like a couple of bands showing some of the footage I've shot, and it would be hard, but it would be a lot simpler than what I am doing right now.
It's a lot to cram in though in 7 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, sort of, you're probably missing that whole spirit of the punk.
Yeah,
community,
and
really.
It's funny, I posted on that Facebook group that I posted, hey, I'll film your gig for free. And I was actually surprised by the response because I actually thought no one would give a shit. I honestly thought people...
Dude, it's a massive... I reckon it'd be a massive call for it.
Yeah. Like, I honestly thought I'd get maybe 3, maybe 5 people at most.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, a lot of people like, oh, you should talk to and then suddenly, you know, this simple 7-minute, you know, thing is evolved into something that could be like an hour and a half long, you know.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And I've given myself a year to do this because I don't want to be doing this for like 10 years time, you know, when bands have broken up and the scene's changed and stuff, you know, just because I know some people who want to make a documentary about something, they do it for a long period of time to show an error or something, but I don't want to do that. I just want to show like right now in 2019 to 2020, that period of time, you know?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, I bet, man. It'd be so much just to take on that you'd have to teach yourself and all that sort of stuff.
Well, in TAFE, I learnt one of the things was we had to make a short documentary, and that's how I learnt the basics of doing a documentary. Like, for example, I did a documentary on tribute bands, and I interviewed my friend's dad, and I interviewed. I asked like a couple of people, you know, to interview that. And it was pretty simple. The hardest part was cutting it together, you know.
Yeah.
I actually got one of the people from Body Jar, the punk band, to do it because I posted on that Australian punk collective thing, and I managed to get an interview to him. But I learnt the basics of doing a documentary, and I really enjoyed doing it. And I thought, you know, maybe I can try and do something else. You know, I've always gotten ideas to do stuff. Like, for example, my aunties are in a ukulele band called Uke Sisters, for example, and I wanted to do a documentary showing something about that.
The ukulele scene.
Yeah, and I wanted to do that, or I wanted to, you know, you only had to do one subject, but like when we were originally told about the documentary, I had like a good page full of things, know, like, you know, skateboarding, pro wrestling, my high school burning down, which happened.
Oh, wow.
Just casually mentioned that, but
yeah,
and I had like a good list of ideas, and I ended up choosing the tribute band one just because it was connected to music, and I got to film music again, which I really like doing. You know?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I know the basics of documentary. You know, I'm not Ken Burns or whatever. You know,
but you know enough to sort of give yourself a direction and know what you got to get done.
Yeah.
You know?
So the basics of documentary filmmaking is interviewing people, getting footage. Basically, that relates to the question. Like, so if, for example, I'm interviewing Jin the conservationist, and I say, you know, like, why should people care about pandas?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then he answers the question. I would try and get some footage of pandas to work with the footage. But and we even learnt some really cool stuff. Like, we learnt how to do an interview, like how you would do it on a current affair or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So some real good sort of all round sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed doing it. I met some really cool people there, you know. Shout out to Lester. Shout out to my former DM1A students who are probably not listening to this.
So outside of music, you got some other interesting stuff too. So you do some pro wrestling filming as well. Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of pro wrestling. Like, I started watching it in 2007 when I was 10 years old. My uncle decided to take me to a show in 2007, and then for the next 5 years, me and my cousins went to watch the pro wrestling, and it was awesome. And because of that, like, live experience, it was like a concert, really, but different, you know. And I really liked doing it. I became a huge fan, and like I was like knee deep in pro wrestling. Like
Yeah,
seriously, I must have been so annoying when I was like super into it, just because I was like, pro wrestling.
Just stats and everything.
Yeah, and I even wanted to become a pro wrestler at a point. Me and my friends would have like little like backyard pro wrestling matches. Like I think the silliest thing we did is had a ladder match one time.
It's never good in a backyard.
No. Jeez, I'm honestly surprised we didn't end up like hurting each other more. But yeah, and I was a huge fan, and then I stopped watching for a couple of years, and then I started watching again, and it was one of the things that I've always wanted to film. I've always wanted to be a part of pro wrestling, just because I've been such a huge fan of it, and I didn't think I'd be able to do the whole pro wrestler shtick. I don't know, maybe, who knows, but I was on Facebook one night, and the AWF, which is my local, well, it's one of the local.
Yeah, they're one of the biggest sort of Australian ones, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not necessarily the biggest right now, but they've been around since like the late 90s,
Yeah.
So they've definitely been around for a long time, and they posted an image on Facebook saying, we're looking for pro wrestlers and people to help with production. So I emailed the guy, TNT. Well, TNT. I'll just go by his wrestler name.
Yeah.
TNT. I messaged him saying, hey, I'm a huge wrestling fan. I do videography and video editing. Would I be able to help you guys out with any shows? And he replied like a week later saying, yeah, sure, we've got a show, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, sure. And I've been filming them ever since. I've filmed, Back in Blacktown, Parramatta Powerbomb, Marrickville City Slam and stuff.
Yeah, cool. So you're filming every match and...
Yeah, so originally it was me and one of his students. Oh, jeez, sorry.
No, you're right. All good.
One of his students was also helping him film, because he runs a wrestling school, and and one of his students was helping filming stuff. So I would be part of the filming crew, and then I would cut up the footage. But it's gone to a point where, at least I hope he thinks, the footage I've shot and the way I've edited, where like maybe it was due just to like a low amount of staff or whatever, but the last two shows I just got tasked with just setting up like 2 hard cams, and I was the only roaming cam. So and I've been able to film pro wrestling, which has been awesome. Like every time
you're up close and personal.
Yeah, every time I'm doing it, and talking to pro wrestlers, out of, not in like, before shows and stuff.
Yeah, like not in character.
Not in character, yeah. It's super cool, and yeah, it's been really fun to do it, and editing the footage has been really fun, because you can make stuff really exciting, like if you throw someone onto the ropes, you can cut to a hard cam, and then he jumps back, and then you cut to the original cam, and then bam, he's hitting the floor, and
yeah, wow.
Yeah, and it's been really, really awesome. Like, I really loving the fact that I've gotten an opportunity to film, pro wrestling. It's super awesome, like, I would love to do more of it. I'd love to maybe, film some other stuff as well as, the AWF stuff, like, one of the cooler things I got to do this year for the AWF is, for one night, I got to film at Supernova. I was one of the people filming there this year, and yeah, it was super cool. And like, and I got into Supernova for free.
Yeah, cool.
Which was awesome, and I kind of wish I wasn't dead broke at the time. Otherwise, I would have
went nuts, I suppose, with everything that was there. Actually, I took my son as well. Like, I have to admit, I'm aware of Supernova, but there was a lot of stuff I wasn't aware of. I saw a lot of cool, old school like Transformer models and stuff that I used to have when I was a kid. But we actually watched a wrestling match there, and my son met SMG4. Which are like some of his favourite YouTubers, so it was pretty mad. And the wrestling match was really cool too.
I've really liked going to Supernova. I've only been twice. One time with my friends, one time filming with the AWF. But yeah, it was super super cool when we did it, and yeah, like it's super cool because you get like to see like, you know, people dressed up as like cosplayers and stuff, and
The cosplay stuff's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of crazy talent there.
yeah, like
People
I
doing shit.
remember just walking around and I was like, oh, that's a dude from Punch Out, and like he heard me say Punch Out. It's like, hey, dude, do you want a photo? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, mad.
So I got a picture with the Punch Out guy, and you know, you get to see like you get to see the artist alley where you get to see, you know, artists showing off like their own comics and artwork and stuff, and it's
Yeah, there's that whole cool section there, and you can buy like prints and
yeah,
like
so,
support those sort of smaller guys.
yeah, and even like if you like this stuff so much that you want to commission art, like they'll usually like, you know, plug themselves, and you can be able to get some really cool stuff. And also the comics side of it, you know, like I've like reading comics, so it's really cool just to be walking around and just, you know, looking at comics, like, you know.
And it's like that punk thing, man. It's a full community, and yeah, everyone's there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's your shit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember for a good couple of months, a couple of years ago, me and two of my friends from high school, Andrew and Bilal, we went to this thing in Parramatta called PopCon, and what we would do is every month we would go there, check it out, and then watch a movie. And
Yeah,
that
okay.
was pretty good. The movie sometimes was
A bit average.
it was a bit average sometimes. We watched Suicide Squad one time, and the BFG, which was both movies were okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a lot of fun doing that, and yeah, it's really cool, like the community of just people, like, you know, with, you know, selling like weird, cool, nerdy stuff, I guess.
Yeah,
you
yeah. There is some cool shit out there.
Yeah.
And like a lot of it's handmade, and
Yeah.
you know, like you're getting like authentic pieces of stuff. Like,
or even you just get plain bizarre stuff. Like, for example, at that popcorn thing, I was walking there and I saw this, I guess, Transformer crossed with Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh yeah.
And me and my friend just like kept walking past it, and I ended up buying it for my mate just because of the sheer ridiculousness of it.
Just
Actually, going back to the wrestling thing, a cool thing happened at one of the popcorn things was like they had like the little like replica WWE title things, and there was a guy cosplaying as Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was this like Asian guy, so it was Asian Stone Cold Steve Austin.
It's pretty random.
And my friend was like, dude, I dare you to buy one of those titles and challenge him to a match or whatever. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And it was only $5, so my friend bought me a title, and I bumped into the Stone Cold guy, and he's like, you know, oh, I want to challenge you to a match right here. And like, you know, he did the Stone Cold Steve Austin motions, you know, he did the kick and like
The stunner and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, but he did it like obviously joking, but just because I'm crazy, I just like full on took a bump. Like I took a bump, and then like, you know, acted like I was being knocked out, and then like he pinned me and my friend just going like 1, 2, 3. So technically, you know, I lost the title that my mate bought me to
an Asian Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, wow. So you're into skateboarding and stuff as well, man.
Yeah.
Do you actually skateboard yourself, or you do some like more filming stuff? And
I actually want to film skateboarding stuff because I reckon, again, there's all these really cool communities that I would love to explore and stuff. And yeah, I skateboard with a longboard, so So yeah, I skateboard all the time. Like it used to be my prime source of transport before I got my learner's permit. Yeah, and I love just like going down big hills and getting that like holy shit, I'm gonna die feeling.
You get the old adrenaline. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and there's been some massive stacks and stuff. And
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, but I love skateboarding, and I reckon it's one of the coolest things, you know, because you just hanging out, and then suddenly, you know, there's dude doing like a 360 kickflip or whatever, and also the Tony Hawk games were like made everyone want to, be a skateboarder or whatever.
I think I lost a lot of hours on Tony Hawk, man. But like 1, 2, and 3 especially, like, was really bad.
Yeah, and I longboard. That means I'm kind of in a different spot to like the regular skaters in St. Clair where I live, because a lot of them ride scooters, ride bikes, and they ride shortboards, and I've only now just bumped into some like kids, riding longboard, and I'm like, oh, cool longboard, and they see me around, like, oh, cool longboard. In fact, it's funny, a lot of people, when they bump into me or they just meet me, they're like, I've seen you skateboard around St. Clair and stuff like that. Yeah. Like a lot of people know me as that skateboarding guy, I guess.
The longboard guy.
Yeah, but I would love to film some skateboarding stuff. Like when I was working at an RSL, one of the people that I was working with, he was skateboarding. He was like really into it, and he asked me, hey, you should film me doing some stuff, and I got really excited, and I started doing my research. I started watching skateboarding tapes, and I just started deciding, which music do I want to put in? Do I want to put like some grunge stuff, or like I had this idea. I had all these ideas in my head, but it never materialized. But I would love to film skateboarding or even surfing.
Cool.
Like I have
that real sort of good action sport stuff.
Yeah,
as well,
like I have a family who live in Gerringong, and they're like fully into surfing and stuff. And I've surfed a bit, well, not much, but I have previously surfed, and it's a lot of fun. And like it would be awesome to film some more stuff of that. I pretty much would love to film anything, unless it was like, would you like to film our weird called Sacrifice?
Oh, well, it could get real weird.
This tape's called 37 Goats and One Knife.
All right, dude. Well, we might wrap it up there.
All right, cool.
We'll give you... Just plug yourself, dude. What do you got going on? And
so I film under DMWC Films right now. Again, the documentary I'm working is called Unearthing the Underground. A trailer should be coming up in December.
Cool. So where can we find... Where are you online? Like where?
You can find me on Instagram at DMWC Films, and also on Facebook and on YouTube at DMWC Films.
Sick one.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll get you back on again.
Yeah, as I said, I'm a bit of a motor mouth. Like, you get me on the right subject, I can talk forever.
Yeah, it's all good. So what we'll do, we'll get you back on once you've got your doco out, man, and we can just go through it. And talk
I'll even
plug it up.
Yeah, since I interviewed you for it, I'll make sure to send you like one of the final versions or whatever of it.
Man. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks again for wanting to be a part of it.
Thanks, Shay. No worries, dude. Thanks. There you go, guys. That was Shay. So, just once again, thanks for downloading. Thanks for subscribing. It's really cool just even getting some of the messages I get, and just people who are interested in possibly coming to do a podcast and have a chat about life in general and what they're doing. And this is a platform for anyone to tell their story, and even just want to talk about anything they're currently doing. And remember, Unveiling the Underground. Trailer should be up in a week or so. Just keep an eye out on Shay's page. That again is DMWC Films. He is on Facebook, Instagram, that sort of stuff. Check out the links to those in the description of this podcast. And guys, I hope you have a good time. And there's a few good episodes coming up soon over the next couple of weeks. I've had a bit of a break from doing these for a bit, just with life getting in the way as it does. So I've got a few good episodes banked up. So alright, check out Shay's stuff, and thanks for listening. Cheers.